Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Gemini August 2023 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. Now, I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings over FaceTime and Skype for people over different parts of the world from YouTube here on this channel. And if you might be interested in seeing what's involved in that, just check out the information that's in the description box below. I have also done a number of healings separately for people. Now, healings are free. Readings, of course, are charged for. So if you, or if you know somebody who may be able to take advantage of a healing, then just check out the info in the description. But now, as the subscribers know, and it's great to see the subscribers always, I thank you very much for inviting me into your home. I enjoy very much your company each month. I always look forward to seeing you. Do you know, we only take 5 cards, don't we? And the 5 cards that we take are going to be from this deck, which is in the Italian Renaissance style. So I'm sure we'll find a lot of information, which is imagery, which is going to be of interest to us when we start to get into the cards here. Now, you also know, don't you, that there are no video advertisements breaking their way into this content, and so you get to enjoy the experience uninterrupted. And, of course, we don't spend just 5 minutes on a card, but they speak volumes to us, don't they? And so we shall see what there is in store for you in this month of August, and what a great month it always is. Let's see what there is first up for you, and it is the Emperor. Well, that's a great start, is it not? The first card is always very important. I think it has to say very interesting things. There's the Popess. Well, I told you it was Italian Renaissance, didn't I? So that probably explains why there. Actually, I can see some of this interesting imagery that's here, which we'll explore in just a second. I might, in fact, use a pen to point out some of the imagery, I think, because that is going to be important as part of reading what it means, I think. There's the Two of Cups. Great card. Now, for card number 4... Although we don't need to take them in this order because it depends how they interact with each other, doesn't it, as you know from our readings here. Here is the 7 of Cups. Fascinating, fascinating. Very good artwork on this. I think you will agree, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's quite luxurious. And there is the King of Coins, a good card for you. Well, why don't you do what is our usual practice? Come, sit down here next to me now. Why don't we have a good close look at the paintings and the imagery and symbology on these cards together while I do the reading for you? Yes, you'll certainly be pushing for freedom, having some control and domination over a situation or even a person, I think. A moment here, but it's been crushed by this card, where you might be feeling downhearted about what's going on in your life or what people are saying to you. But there's great love and relationship here, and a good, steady material gain. Let's unpack it and have a look at what I think is this great card of the Popess here. Now, the Popess, that is an interesting title, isn't it? Well, let's have a look at her. Well, there's a slender young Popess here who's gazing out from her throne with some sort of peace and wisdom. Now, her robes are dark blue, which symbolizes her feminine intuition. And there is, if you look up here, there's a crescent moon on top of her tiara, would you call that, or crown? In her right hand is the Book of Life. And I can't help but notice that there is the Tree of Life, which is referred to in mystical Kabbalah, but I'm not going to go into that now. In her left hand, there's a golden and a silver key. Now, at her left breast here is a Maltese cross with a child's head, referring to the legend of Pope Joan. Now, if my church history serves me correctly, there was supposedly a Pope Joan round about the years 850, 855, something like that, in the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. She was a woman who passed herself off as a man and who made her way through the church hierarchy until ultimately she was elected Pope. and it was only found out that she was in fact female when during some procession she gave birth, and she died shortly thereafter. However, I would suggest that even though that was a thing that was a legend that was believed for centuries, I think it nevertheless is something that is probably fiction, really. Now, behind her shoulders there's a veil that is supported by the sun here and the moon over there, I think you can see. And there are rainbows streaming down on each side. Now, the column, which is on her left, is supported down here by a black sphinx, isn't it? And the column itself, it has entwined within it a mermaid, and at the top of it is a serpent who is offering the mermaid an apple, a reference, no doubt, to chapter 2 of the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible or the Christian Old Testament. Now, that fiery column which is on her right, that's the masculine principle, this thing here. Feminine principle, masculine principle. And what's it got going on in it? It's got little flames, water drops, and it looks like a lizard, and a bat in it. And her foot rests on a green cushion the colour of grass, and the checkered floor gives way to life and nature. Now, I'm pleased to see that the crescent moon was there in her headdress, because for me, the moon is very much associated, that energy, the moon is very much here, and it's in its highest part. Now, I call her the priestess of the silver star. This is a time when you will be able to access your intuitive powers, and you will be going through a process of healing. There is a very strong determination for independence during this time, and you'll have increased self-confidence to back that up. I think you'll be discovering your own truths. You may have contact with your spiritual guides, and it's a time of great emotional security. Now, she here is surrounded by this great column and these principles here, and they are an expression of her spiritual nature. Her essence really is that of unrestricted independence. You will be in touch with your intuitive abilities, and you'll be able to trust them completely. Now, she perceives and is connected with her own inner voice, the internal guide and healer. Now, this shows outwardly in her trust in, and this is when I'm speaking of her, take it that I'm speaking of you. This is showing in her trust and responsibility to herself. Now, like the camel, which can travel long stretches in the desert without water, you, when you have discovered your own inner spring, also radiate a satisfied sense of self-sufficiency. You find fertile oases in the innermost reaches of your being. Do you know, the more you accept yourself and share with others, the deeper the clarity of your perceptions will become. You now have access to your intuitive powers. Develop them more fully and guard your independence. Do you know that she can indicate extrasensory perception and intuitive abilities such as clairvoyance, creative visualization, empathy, and healing powers? These abilities arise in harmony with and in service to the ultimate cosmic law. But I'll ask you this question. Are there areas in your life in which you allow others to influence you rather than trusting your own intuition? And I'd ask you to seek out water as often as you can. Look at the water, sit near it, and learn from it as much as you can. And say this to yourself: I deeply honor and value the human being that I am. I am intuitive and perceptive. I trust myself and honor my sense of integrity, and I trust my intuitive abilities. Now, interestingly, on that same column is another major arcana, which is the Emperor. Let's have a look at the Emperor and have a look at some of the material that we might be able to find on this card. Well, the first thing that I'll do is I think that the Emperor here is really somebody who is in control of all of the elements, and the elements can often be destructive. And this is pointed out by the swirling air. This is earth with lava pouring through it. This looks like a township of wood or wooden buildings on fire, and here water, a ship at sea sinking. This platform on which he is sitting is held up by, that looks like a goat, a he-goat in outline. Do you see that? I see a lion there. I see a dog there. I don't know what that is, some sort of a strange creature. Now, the armor that he wears is reminiscent of the armor that emperors of the Austrian Empire used to wear in the 1500s. This yellow cube upon which he sits, combined with this red robe, are symbols of power and authority. This is some sort of what's that stuff called? Ladies, you would know this more than I do, this sort of material. Is that ermine? Would that be an ermine hat? That's in front of his crown, which has on top of it pyramids. There's a tulip growing up there by the looks of it. And over here, there is a scepter with a head of lilies and a crescent moon as the handle of it. Now, the astrology of this card is that of, I think it is here, it's Mars ruling Aries with the sun exalted. And I call him the son of the morning, the chief among the mighty. And this is therefore with this astrological combination of Aries, Mars, and the Sun, there's a combination of energy in its most material form there. So this is a very energetic time for you. Mars, Aries, Sun. It doesn't get any more energetic than that. So I can see you being a pioneer in some way, a discoverer. Certainly, I think people are going to see you as being a natural leader and organizer, and you'll have no difficulty in starting out upon particular courses of action or projects. However, you will have a great degree of creative wisdom, great leadership qualities coming through again, and there will be within you an urge to take action because there's an adventurousness with you. And there's an authority with you, but you'll be putting in place order and structure, just as this guy does here, and in fact as this card is talking about as well. And there is the establishment of a process about how to go about things. Now, you're going to be very ambitious, and I think you could be finding that you take a stand on a particular issue. You're going to be quite firm with yourself, and also with others. And it may well be here that you are taking on more responsibility. I think you may well be primarily concerned with power and control over other people or over yourself. But you will have success, and this comes about through discipline and the application of your talents. Now, you will be a rational thinker, except for this moment here, which is going to pass. And this is being minimized, I think, because this is sitting on top of it. So you are going to be a rational thinker, despite a moment, I think, of just wallowing around in indecision. And I think that status could be important to you, as well might material security and stability. Do you know, in a sense, I think you might be quite volatile and fiery at times. I don't see this as being a period in which you are going to be passive at all. Now, as long as your powers are used for transformation and new beginnings, their effect will be beneficial because you have power with you at this time. But be aware of using those powers to just keep things as they are. Because when used to preserve things just as they are, then the Emperor's realm starts to become barren and frozen. And then he becomes doomed. However, this is a good time for making things happen. Now, maybe you might be doing it in something of a gruff way. You'll be quite determined to get things happening. Now, this is a really good moment for a change or a new beginning for you, so trust your own energy and move with it. Now, what sprucing up does your life need? Are there steps you would like to take this forward? Examine yourself critically, especially in regard to your relations with other people who may be subordinate to you or above you in some way. You know, that's often relating to structured work environments. But say this to yourself: I enjoy starting projects. I value and honor my leadership ability. I am a responsible person. I trust my power. I rule by serving, and I serve by ruling. Now, I did say that I had the sense of indecision, or perhaps illusion, is what I'm getting here. Let's have a look at the imagery that's on this painting, shall we? Well, here is a woman who is asleep and she is dreaming. And what she's dreaming of, now this is cups, so this is a vessel or a cup that's holding some intoxicating liquor. And the waxen seal on it has broken and the fumes are getting out. Here is a cup in which the woman herself is depicted as being old, and she's with a partner who is old, so they have grown old together. And over here is a hooker, not that type of hooker. This is a HOOKAH, which I think is pretty well which is melting at the bottom, and it's a cup or a vessel which is used for smoking opium. Now over here there is a silver cup that's holding special demons to her. Here is a gold cup in the shape of a lotus. That's obviously got some good things for her. Here is a cup that's in the shape of clouds. And over here, in the Etruscan style, is a cup which is, I assume, a copy of the woman's face. And notice that this cup, unlike all the others, is not spilling anything from it. But what we do have here is an overall picture of intoxication, of not addiction, although it could be an addiction, or of the effect of narcotics, alcohol, illusion, delusion. Now, why am I getting that? It's because there is here, let me just make sure that that light is turned up enough for you. There we go, it's a bit better, I think. What we have here is the astrology is what's important for me in this context, because in this position down here, this is Venus ruling the third decan of Scorpio, the 13th to the 22nd of November. Now with the number 7 here, I have a mystical association with the planet of Venus as well. So we have a double Venus. We have a Venus in the 7, and we have a Venus in Scorpio. Now Venus is the planet of love and relationship, and Scorpio is about intensity, in-depth transformation, and exploration of the self and others. And because there's a double Venus here, Venus just comes charging straight into Scorpio, and Venus is astrologically in detriment in Scorpio, which means Venus is restricted from really showing its best self, really showing its great attention to relationship, to love and what have you. And what can happen is that it can't express its sensitivity and emotions properly. Instead, they can be channeled into negative addictions and intensity, well, which is the darker side of Scorpio, isn't it? And it could imply that you might indulge in excess reactive behavior, maybe due to something that has affected you deeply and changed you, or changed you in a way which is throwing up its own set of problems. You see, I'm getting illusion around here. This is the working here of Venus in the sphere of your mind, where Venus's influence is by no means clear-sightedness. You believe what you want to believe when you're under the influence of Venus. So you're going and you're talking to yourself and rounding yourself about what did they mean when they said that? Why did they say that? What are they doing now? Who are they with? What's happening here? And these things are going around and around and around in your mind, as if you are being and imagining the worse, when in fact what you are imagining is delusion and things are better than they are. So what can happen is that you can have excess negative thinking, in a sense, about emotional subjects, which you can then self-medicate in a way. And I think maybe you just have to recognize that perhaps for a moment you maybe are going to lose some sort of control over your circumstances as you see them, and this might inside of you want to produce damaging life choices. Well, you need to get back to who you are. Now, incidentally, this number 7 here also, mystically, it refers to an area of divine emanation, which we mystics refer to as victory. So everything turns out well. Now, I guess I'd ask you this question. Is there some disappointment which you have not yet worked out? It's time to open your eyes and take a good look at maybe a painful reality. Only by looking at this and recognizing your own inner reality are you going to be freed. Because every further attempt to avoid that increases this turning around, this stagnation of your emotional energy. Have you experienced something that was perhaps maybe just a little bit too good, perhaps? Have you overtaxed yourself or overdone things in any way? Say this to yourself, though, because this is true, and it applies to all of us. As I recognize and accept my shadows, they lose their power over me. Now, pretty clearly, I think that card had sort of come there just by way of something as a general message for you rather than as a prediction, I think, because very clearly in the center of the spread here is the Lord of Love. And this is Venus in the first decan of Cancer, which is the 21st of June to 1st of July, I think, if I'm not mistaken. What have we got on here? Well, here is a man and a woman. Although the lesbian and gay audience can make the necessary gender adjustments, it doesn't affect anything, of course. Now, what we have here is, there are two people, and there are two cups. There's a silver cup, and this silver cup has in it a woman weeping and turning away, crying, while her lover, brandishing his love letters, turns and storms out of the building. And there is two-headed snake, or two snakes, climbing up this stand here. This stand is a golden cup, supported by a lion, and his tail goes up. And in here, there is a satyr from the mythology, which was a highly sexualized male, along with a nymph. That was, I assume, a very highly sexualized female. And they are cavorting together. Can I put it like that? Now, in Western esoteric circles. This relates to the feminine principle, and this relates, the color silver is feminine and this color gold is masculine. Now, I say it's Venus in Cancer. Well, as we saw from the last card, didn't we? Venus is the planet of love and relationship. And that exemplifies the benefit of drawing this card, because Venus is the most receptive of the planets, and it's about love, beauty, creativity, and relationship. And Cancer, the constellation in which it is in at the moment, it's about nurturing, comfort, support, and healing. So I see here receptive love, happy relationships, and emotional exchange. Very close bonds and togetherness, love in all of its forms, harmony, and a relationship that is strengthening. If you love yourself, you understand, you are attractive to others. Your receptiveness towards yourself prepares you to give yourself totally to somebody else. And then a deep emotional exchange will be possible, a giving and receiving of overflowing love. The union occurs in complete harmony, as is symbolized by these two people here. This is an image of complete joy and silent ecstasy. Do you know, your readiness to receive love makes you attractive? Surrender to yourself, to others, to life. With which persons and in which surroundings can you now share your love? And pay attention to the love coming to you. Remain open and let it enter you and go deep inside. And really say this to yourself and have it in your mind. There is nothing to do but enjoy what life offers. I am now ready to let into my life the love relationships which will fulfill me. And then finally and quickly, I think we need to deal with this fellow here, a king of coins, material world. So I think that the people important to you at the moment are going to be Virgo and Leo. That's the energy that's coming up around it. Now here is a king that he's got branches and things sticking in his tunic, which just goes to show that nothing is perfect in the world. Very well kept fields out the background there. That's a compass. At least when I was a boy, that was used in geometry. I don't know whether they still do that these days. At his feet there is a basket of diamonds, of gold rings, of crowns, of crystals, of pearls, of gold coins, and of gold bars. And he, of course, is looking very pleased with himself, is he not? Well, I think that this is talking about somebody. Now, these courts can be of either gender, someone who can be either from the land or have something to do with land or with buildings or with management of buildings or dealing with buildings. You will be patient, a hard worker. Now, you'll be very clever. And I think that what there is here is that you are going to find that you will be quite good at finance and business. This is really harvest time here, and this means that you are going to be reaping the rewards of things that you have done previously. It's a time for you to work with your instincts without over-intellectualizing things and without creating revolutions, just for this month here. And I think you could have a deep connection with Earth. Now is the time to set your abilities to work in service of some kind. The tasks before you are large and demand the use of all of your powers, but if you make the effort, the harvest will reward you richly. Now, are there some things that you would like to, tasks that you would like to avoid in your life? You see, whenever things to be too much trouble for you, concentrate on the positive results of your actions for you and for others. Your internal learning and growing process is the most important thing. And say this, with every task that comes my way, comes also the energy needed to complete it. What a fantastic spread of cards. I really must say that that was a very interesting set of information provided by the cards for you this month, don't you think? And doesn't it look like it's going to be a fantastic month for you? And you deserve it, I think, don't you? Now, do me the favor, would you? If you did like the video, please press the like button on your way out. It helps the YouTube computer thing promote the channel. And that's the only favor I ever ask of you. So thanks if you do that. And I'll see you again next month. Now, but remember this though, until I do that you are a legend, and I do look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.